The Utah Mammoth is sorta proud to present NASHCAST.
What the is a NASHCAST?
NASHCAST, the only hockey show on the planet. Hosted by a human speed bag, fourth line wannabe, healthy scratch, schnozzy moto, Tyson Nash.
Who the hell is Tyson Nash?
Never heard of him.
And the baritone with a brain, the velvet hammer, Mr. Silky, Tono Suave, the radio voice of your Utah Mammoth,
Code Blue!
Mike Folta.
Oh, Captain, my Captain!
NASHCAST begins now.
Ready for takeoff.
Here's Tyler Ganoush and Mickey Foghorn. Wait, what? Oh, here's Tyson Nash and Mike Folta.
Feeling good, Foltsy. Holy, you're looking good, brother. Looking good. The off-season's treating you well. You got the Mammoth shirt on. The Stanley Cup, the playoff one. I never got one of those. That is legit, right? I like it. Not only the best swag on the planet, but now we have playoff swag. So
playoff swag is the best. And Tyson, like I remember in the minors, whenever we'd make the playoffs, like the trainers would get these shirts for all the players that would have like the season motto or something like that on the back, right? Yeah. I don't even know what it is or what it was for the Mammoth this last year, but do you remember some of like the season mottos you'd have on the shirts when you played?
Oh, yeah. I don't remember, actually.
It's usually like an inside joke or something that only the team would understand.
The cheesiest lines of all, right? Like always, right? Like even for NASHCAST, what's ours? Bring the thunder. Like I love it, but it's like it rallies the troops, right? Yeah. I mean, people, it's a thing. So, and that's been our story all year long. 2 years now, Folts. 2 years for the NASHCAST. And they are guests. They bring the thunder. So hence the name, right? So it's been unbelievable. And this episode that we have for you guys today is, I think, one of the best, one of the very best. Like, this guy is just who he is, an unbelievable human, one of the best storytellers of all time, one of the best backup goaltenders as well to ever play the game, and his name's Jamie McLennan, Noodles, we like to call him, but he got his role, right? No one knew their role on their team better than Jamie McLennan. He was a starter at a few points in his career, but I think he also realized, and he talks a lot about it, just how if he was going to continue on and have a long NHL career, it was going to be backing up some of the elites. He backed up Grant Fuhr. He backed up Roman Turek. He backed up Luongo. He backed up Kiprusoff. I mean, those are some legitimate names. So the guy figured it out, and he had some unbelievable stories.
He might have been a number 2 when he played, but he was a number 1 on our show, and we interviewed him because he had some hilarious stories, beating up mascots, getting into trouble in Japan and in Russia. Some great stories that we'll get to with Jamie McLennan, who now works for TSN. He's made that transition, like you have, Tyson, to the broadcasting side post-playing career. But we'll get to him in a little bit. We got the playoffs going on right now. We have one team that's already punched their ticket to the conference finals. The Carolina Hurricanes are already through. Tyson, they play that man-on-man, Rob Brindamore skate and shoot style. It's worked for them, sweeping the first 2 rounds. They're a wagon right now,
aren't they? And when you look at their roster, right, you break down their roster and you're like, okay, like Anderson's been lights out in net. I mean, there's no arguing that. I mean, but how they play. And I think you're going to see probably a lot of coaches now, like, you can't not look at it. You can't not go, okay, it works for Carolina, and look at their personnel. I mean, like, yeah, they have some good players. I mean, Svechnikov, Aho. I mean, like, they have some Slavin on the back end. They have some big names. Don't get me wrong, Gostisbehere. But, like, it's no better than any other roster, like, and not even close. But what they do have is a complete buy-in, right? And I think that has to be a message moving forward, that if we play this way, everyone's on board, we can do what Carolina did. And they do it year after year after year because it works, right? There's not a lot of change in their roster, in their lineups, but how they play, they are like a machine. And they absolutely dummied the Philadelphia Flyers. It wasn't even close.
Don't you think it takes a special type of player to thrive in that Rod Brind'Amour system? Because there's so much skating and everybody has to, you're playing this man on man, right? You can probably describe it better than I can, but like it looks exhausting to play, but it's also exhausting to play against.
Yeah. You know what? It just takes an unselfish player, right? A player who has bought in, a player who is willing to give up maybe a few points a year to win hockey games and to get to the conference finals. And in my mind, I mean, I don't know if there's anyone stopping them out east. Yeah. I mean, out west, if it's Colorado, I think Colorado's going to dummy anyone. But this team and their players, guys like Aho could put up, Svechnikov, they could put up another probably 15, 20 points a year if they didn't play that way. But they've done it for the sake of the team. So you have to be very unselfish, and it works. If it didn't work, Rob Brind'Amour, couldn't be selling it, right? But everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid in Carolina, and I'll tell you what, it's impressive.
Well, and the Philadelphia Flyers were a team that was picked to finish near the bottom of the league, and they made it to the second round. And honestly, they gave the Flyers a fight. Like they took them to overtime in Game 4. They had a chance. They were up 2 goals in Game 2. That could have totally changed the series if they are able to even things up at 1 apiece. But you can't think it's not a successful season for the Flyers. And Nasher, how about this? One night in Philly, the Flyers get swept and they're cheered off the ice. Their fans are still so appreciative. The next night, the NBA's Philadelphia 76ers get just run out of the building by the New York Knicks, and they're getting booed off the ice by the few Sixers fans that are there. But it's like 80% Knicks fans. It's just like a total difference between the fandoms, but also the expectations, right? Like nobody expected the Flyers to be good, and I think Rick Tocchet deserves a heck of a look at a Jack Adams this year.
He does. And I'll never figure out the Jack Adams. Like a lot of those trophies, right? I mean, especially for the best coach of the year, doesn't it always go to the guy who wins the Stanley Cup? I mean, I know playoffs don't count. I mean, but how can they not? Right? I mean, because the season's not done. The most important part of the year is actually coming, and it's the playoffs. So when your coach wins and you win a Stanley Cup, that should be the Jack Adams. Like, plain and simple. But what Rick Tocchet has done, what Lindy Ruff has done with the Buffalo Sabres, I mean, he has to be in contention. It is just so impressive. And for Rick Tocchet, and I am a huge Rick Tocchet fan. First of all, the way he played, an absolute savage, but also the way he coaches because he communicates with his players. You saw some fiery exchanges on the bench. One with Zegras and one with Konechny that were absolutely epic. But I think you need that. And that's what talk's all about. I mean, Bissonnette talks about it all the time, how they fought one night after a couple cocktails, telling stories and breaking plays down in the hotel hallway, right, at 4 a.m. in the morning. And that's who Rick Tocchet is. And he deserves a ton of credit to your point.
Do guys like that when, like, because Tocchet's doing like these visual demonstrations on the bench, right? And like you don't see a lot of coaches, whether head or assistant, do that. Now I know Toc played, so it's different for him, but do guys like getting coached like that on the bench?
Well, I mean, it works, right? I mean, because he has literally changed the culture in Philadelphia and brought it back to where it used to be, right? A tough place to play in. A tough team to play against, the fans, the city. I mean, the Rocky Balboa stuff, right? I mean, that's the Philadelphia Flyers in a nutshell. But Toc's a fiery guy, and I think as a player, you do like it because you always know where you stand with Toc, good or bad. Yeah. But he's a very intense guy on the bench, and I would imagine, I don't know what those exchanges exactly were, but I basically, it's like he's trying to fire Konechny up because Konechny is the leader of that team, right? And he's like, let's fricking go. Like, wake up. When you go, the team goes. So I think that's kind of what it was more about. But anyway, it was good stuff. The playoffs, I can't get enough of it. It's good game after good game, Folts.
It's been a ton of fun. We do want to get to Jamie McLennan. Great interview with him. It is episode number 50 of the NASHCAST for us.
Oh, holy.
Congratulations. So You said 2 years. It's been 1 year. There's 52 weeks in a year. So we're at week 50 right now. We're entering our second year, right? It's our second summer firing up the NASHCAST, and what a great episode to have number 50 for this interview with Jamie McLennan. But any other thoughts on the playoffs before we get to this talk?
No. I mean, I can't wait. It's every night I get excited, right? My entire family, we're all sitting there watching the dog. We're cheering. We're jumping up and down. It brings families together, right? I mean, Ryan Smith always talks about community. Like, hockey is such an amazing community because ultimately, at the end of the day, no matter who you cheer for, we are all family and we love the same game.
Let's get to Jamie McLennan from TSN, former teammate of Tyson Nash, and he's our guest on episode 50 of the NASHCAST.
Feeling good. Oh, we got a buddy of mine on the show. The man they call Noodles, Jamie McLennan. Buddy, welcome to the show. Drafted in the 3rd round, New York Islanders. Someone got fired for that, I can promise you. Poor GM. 254 NHL games as a starter. Won the Bill Masterton Trophy as well. This guy is literally the best human on the planet, the best storyteller on the planet. Noodles, buddy, welcome, my man.
Well, thanks for having me. And yes, I do remember, I think the head scout was let go immediately after the draft. They just pulled his credentials. He didn't even get on the team bus right from the building.
That 5-hole I used to call the gateway to the West. He was like a confidence builder. Like, you'd shoot. I'm just kidding, dude. You were the best, man. How many years in the league, though, Noodles? Like, I was trying to calculate, and that's my favorite part of the job, right? Is the journey, looking at your story, your Wikipedia. You're the only guy that has a nickname in there too, by the way.
Oh,
like
really?
Jamie McLennan / Noodles.
See, I think the Wikipedia, like, anybody can just put anything in there. It says my name is James Joseph McLennan. My name is not Joseph. Like, it's some guy just made it up. Like,
hey, I'm gonna go in there then. I want to at least be 6 feet tall.
Oh, yeah.
Like me on my dating apps right there. Yeah.
If you're laying on your back.
With the nose, eh? Oh, yeah.
Honestly, you know what? The journey for the Islanders, I love storytelling, and you go back. Yes, the career, I think I had 11 years in the NHL, 17 years pro. You and I ended up in Japan. I don't know what the hell we were doing there.
We'll dive into that. Trust me.
They pretty much asked us to leave by the end, but it was good. But yeah, you know what? It's like anything. You have a long career. Certainly, I wasn't a superstar, but you're proud of the length of it, right? Like the fact that you're around for a long time. It shows that you at least brought something to the table. And that's one thing, when people on X chirp you saying, yeah, you're this and you're that. I'm like, dude, I played, and I was very proud to, and it's funny, you go back on the NHL.com now and you think about it. Like if you actually did like the analytics of like how many people in the history of mankind have played in the NHL, one game, it's like not even 9,000 people in the history of mankind. Like you'd think it'd be a lot more. And for goalies, I think there's been like 900 guys that have played one game in the NHL or more as a goaltender. So it's, I try and tell people, like, you're right. Like we got sorted out at the NHL as far as our talent level and where we belonged. But, you got there and you stayed there for a while. So that's something that I am quite proud of.
Well, hey, Folts, before I let you fire one off, like his earlobes and my nose, that would like, you would make my nose look normal size with those things.
Well, the thing is your nose and your ears never stop growing. So they're going to have to fold these three. They'll have to fold them in three to get them in my casket by the time I'm done. And Nasher's going to need a sunroof for his casket. So
hey,
slide it open.
Why did we have you on?
Are these all original, or have these been recycled before?
No, these are new. These are new.
No,
He loves my tarp that I got on today too, apparently.
I'm like, well, I thought at first it had like a filter on it, like the yellow filter. Just the armpit stains.
What'd you call it? A cigarette filter?
Yeah, it looked like a cigarette filter. The DeMaurier light.
You know all about that.
Exactly.
Jamie, I want to ask you about your start, because you break into the league with the mighty Richmond, or you break into pro hockey with the mighty Richmond Renegades in the ECHL. You battle your way up, but one of the stops on your way to the NHL was with the Salt Lake Golden Eagles here in
Yes.
Utah. What did you think of Salt Lake when you arrived as a young player?
So I did 2 tours of duty in Salt Lake City, and I loved it, but I didn't understand like the bar situation, because now keep in mind, okay, I got sent down and it was the IHL. So it wasn't even, the league's not around anymore. The International Hockey League was either young players or old NHL guys that were on their way down, and it was like a gentleman's league. Basically, guys were making good money. Like, hey, nothing to see here. Let's just have a nice, easy game. And then afterwards, everybody would meet at the bar. So I remember across from the Delta Center, there was like a bar called the Green Parrot. And you get in there
It's still here. It's still here. It's called no, I think that's Lake Effect now, Tyson.
Okay.
Is it? That's my bar.
That's
I'm like Norm there. I'm like Norm from Cheers.
If I had an ass, there'd be an ass print there. But unfortunately, I don't. I have a crack in my
He's got
back.
hit with a frying pan, Folts. Hey, he's actually got a back with a crack, we call it.
But honestly, like getting to Salt Lake, you don't know, you get sent down, you're a little bit disappointed and not making the big team, all of that type of stuff. And we had no idea. And we weren't that good of a team, the original Golden Eagles. But if you look back, some of the guys on the roster were really good players, like Derek Armstrong, Zygmunt Palffy. Guys spent time there, right? Like
Grimmer. Did you play with Grimmer?
No, I didn't.
Grimson?
I would be well aware of the Grim Reaper if I played with him. But it was just it was new for everybody, and it was weird because early in your career you're trying to save every nickel you can. So I was paying rent in New York. And then they send me down. They're like, get a place in Salt Lake City. So I'll never forget. I lived at like 3830 Redwood Road, and I lived in like this tiny little apartment. And then I realized it was like gang territory. Like I would be like terrified going home after a road trip. They were like, you shouldn't be living down there. And I lived in like a middle apartment. And I went to like the Salvation Army and just bought a mattress, and I had a TV with like a milk crate, and that was how I lived for like a
mattress from Salvation Army. Talk about bed bugs. You know what? That explains that rash on your ass now.
I had to flip the mattress over a few times for the blood stains. It was a gong show. But I loved it there, to be honest. Like I just loved it. Like the fan base was at that time for a minor league team. It was passionate, not massive though. So, you really integrated yourself within the community. And again, I come back to it. I've recently, in the last couple of years, called games in Utah, just, as I do for the Ottawa Senators. And I go back there and I have like a great feeling every time I land there. I'm just like, it's deja vu, because I was literally like a 22-year-old kid. Now I'm an old raisin bag of 54 years old. But it's like, it's just the best feeling to go back somewhere that you lived a lifetime ago and just see the progression and how much that city is built up. And watching it, obviously admiring it from afar, and what Ryan Smith has done with the team and how much passion he's put into it, the fan base and the building, and that it's so impressive. And now the team's arrived. Like, they're good and they're just going to get better. So I think it's going to be a primo spot in the league. If it's not, like, it's getting there, just the reputation is going to start to
live
build.
on Redwood Drive. Yeah.
Was it Redwood Road? Is that what it
Well,
was?
there's a Redwood. Yeah, it's a little further west of downtown. So there are some spots that are not as nice over there, definitely. But that was the last year of the Golden Eagles. You basically killed the Salt Lake Golden Eagles in the last.
Well, I was
Did
the
you see
starting
his save
goaltender
percentage?
so I got people fired there. That's the one track record that Nash was going to talk about. Everywhere that I would leave, there would be a trail of carnage of people getting fired and
the parrot is still trying to track him down when he comes to town. they're like McLennan's here. He's got an outstanding tab.
I know.
But Noodles, let me ask you. So you got your finger on the pulse of everything that's going on in the National Hockey League. You've watched Utah now. What do you think? I mean, yes, they've arrived. The playoffs now is the new standard. But what do you think that they're missing? And is there something out there that may become available this offseason that Bill Armstrong can kind of pull the trigger? Because this is a team that wants to take another big step.
So, okay, one thing, and it's no disrespect to the backup, Vanacek. I think what you need is Vejmelka needs maybe a night off here or there that your backup can give you wins. And I maybe that's the team situation, but I think that position is stabilized. And I think Vejmelka's shown that he can, handle the load and play. But I'd like to see a little bit. I don't know what they have in the system coming up, but I'd like to see somebody take a few starts off of him, because there were times where in talking to people in Utah too, there were times where it was like Vejmelka or bust this year. And I think there's an opportunity if Vanacek comes back or somebody else. Your backup just can't be a space filler. He has to be somebody who gets wins for your organization. So it starts there. Would I like to see another D-man potentially? But I think it's up front, allowing those young players to grow and maybe adding another, Nasher, like a veteran that could still play, but has won and had been there, done that. And not somebody who's a legacy player, somebody who's maybe late 20s, early 30s, but still has lots of game left. Because you see the group, they've taken that step. They played in the playoffs. They know, what playoff hockey is like. They know what it's like to march down to the playoffs. But what you need is you're going to use that experience and keep in mind, Bill Armstrong's got currency. He's got guys like Tisha Ginla that's coming. You've got some good young players. Now, if he decides to put him in the lineup, great. You're adding to your group, or you can dangle them for currency at the draft and maybe get somebody else that is a veteran team, a guy from a veteran team that the team wants to get younger and faster on the goal. I'll give you an example, and I'm not like, don't quote me on this, but if you're looking and say, geez, if Kyle Dubas wants to part with Brian Rust or Ricard Raquel, somebody like that who's, a really good top six player, got some speed, still got lots of game left, and you can maybe give a young player. You've got plenty of young players, or you've got currency and draft picks. You can maybe do something like that. And if Bill Armstrong wants to get creative and crazy, keep in mind, I know that the cap's going up, and I think that offer sheets will be matched this year. But I think there is an opportunity, for a team to get creative and look at some of these teams that have pressed up against it and say they got an RFA on the back end that they maybe could pluck or something like that. I want to see Bill Armstrong use every tool that he has to make his team better in the offseason. Because as I said at the start of the show, they've arrived. Now it's built. Like, keep building on top of the momentum that you have.
Yeah, I agree, because there's only so much space too, right, Folts? I mean, you look at the top six. I mean, you only have a Tisha Ginla coming, all these guys that are tearing up the junior hockey league, the CHL. But where do you put them, right? And you got to be careful who you add. I mean, I've been talking about it forever. And I don't know what's going on with Ottawa, but can you imagine Brady Tkachuk, how good he would look up on that top line? I mean.
Absolutely. And, I don't know. I do the Ottawa games. I do 50 of them. I don't know what Brady Tkachuk personally wants to do. And he's said all the right things. So he said, hey, I'm committed to Ottawa, want to be here. He's you look in Canada alone, they've got three captains that are 2 years away from unrestricted free agency, in Austin Matthews, in Connor McDavid, and in Brady Tkachuk. And then you've got Connor Hellebuck, who had some strong comments at the end of the season about, where he feels his team is at. we know that Vancouver's rebuilding. We know that Calgary is rebuilding and wants to come out the other end. But keep in mind, those teams have really good players that might be available. Jake DeBrusk, somebody like that. You look at it. Connor Garland goes to Columbus at the deadline. You got to start looking at these teams and saying, okay, this guy's got a year or two left on his deal at $6 million, $7 million. Well, we can put our hand up because we can afford it, and we've got currency to get these players to not just as rentals, to plug and play to your team. So I look at throughout the league. You're right, Brady Tkachuk. If for some reason he decided, hey, I want to move on, there'd be 30 other teams that would throw their hand up and go, we'll take him, type of thing. But I personally think he's staying, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know the fabric. I thought that Quinn Hughes was going to finish in Vancouver. We saw what happened there. And Bill Armstrong, good for him. This guy's got stones. That was a big trade, a massive trade. And he gave up a lot. He even said in his press conference, because I was actually there, I was calling the game. The next game was against Ottawa. So his press conference, he said, we knew we had to give up a lot to get a lot. And it was a big, massive move that's sent shockwaves throughout the league. But honestly, it was I love that type of stuff. And I think Utah could be on the cusp of doing something like that too.
We know that that Bill Armstrong likes to wheel and deal, but I wanted to get your take, Jamie, on the playoffs and Ottawa series against Carolina, because I felt watching that series like we heard a lot about Ottawa after the series, like, oh, what's going to happen next? But I felt like that series was all about Carolina and how good the Hurricanes were, and it was not about Ottawa. I thought they actually played pretty well. But this Hurricanes team is on an absolute steamroller. Is it as simple as Carolina and Colorado in the finals?
I mean, right now it looks like that. I mean, neither team just is going to blink, and they might just run the table. Now, I think Minnesota might have something to say about it, but I look at this Carolina team, and before the series against Ottawa, that Spider-Man meme when the two guys are pointing at each other, like I thought they mirror each other, the way they play, the way they're built. But I also thought if you play them on paper beside each other, I thought Ottawa had three separating players. Because if you were doing a draft between both organizations, I'd probably start with Stützle, Tkachuk, and Sanderson before I got to anybody on Carolina. And that what I thought was maybe the separating factor. Now, Stankoven can say something about that, the way he's played. Freddie Anderson's been unbelievable all world. Rod Brindamore could put his hand up and say, I might be up for the Conn Smythe with how well I've coached this team. You look at it, and it was no disrespect to Carolina. It was more about, I thought that they just systematically, and the way that they played, and if you match them up, I thought that Ottawa had a little bit separating skill, and Carolina just blanketed it. And you look at the Taylor Halls, and you look at, Sebastian Aho wasn't even a massive factor in that series, and he's a hell of a player. Svechnikov, you look at it, their team doesn't have a weakness. We thought the weakness coming into it was Frederik Andersen's health. Can he play every night? Can he get to that level? And the guy's just been unbelievable. And Stützle and Brady Tkachuk, between the two of them, had 19 shots on goal, and they tied Nasher in playoff scoring, which wasn't good. So actually, Stützle got an assist. So, I look at it, and it wasn't. You're right. It wasn't about what Ottawa did. It was more about what Carolina has done, and it's been impressive. And Colorado's just been on another planet all season long. And you watch that Matt Boldy try and get the puck in the corner, and Nathan McKinnon tried to put him through the boards the other day. Like he's serious about the way he wants to play in the playoffs right now. So it's been pretty good hockey so far.
Noodles, I got to ask you quickly. I was in Arizona. You're living in Toronto. You live and breathe. What's going on in Toronto right now?
Really? What's going on in Toronto?
Are you absolutely kidding me right now? Like, I love Matt Sundin. What a player. Probably the best player, right, that ever played and donned the Maple Leafs jersey. But where has he been for the last 5, 6, 10, 15 years, right? And now 17. You got John... 17 years.
17
and you
years.
got John Chaika. The guy like left our organization in absolute shambles. And I talked to Folta about this the other day. When you bring and take over something, you better leave it better than when you found it, right?
Right.
And oh my God, did he absolutely destroy the Coyotes for a number of years. And he gets the biggest, most sought after job in hockey in Toronto. What's going on, Noodles?
Well, I'll say this. I think a lot of times when now Keith Pelly is the CEO of MLSE, so he's been well documented that he wants to think outside the box. So I get that. Like I understand. And John Chaika, you guys can speak to it. You lived it. You saw what Arizona, what went through. He cost them draft picks, all of that type of stuff. Apparently, I'm reading more stories than I know just because I didn't live it. But at the end of the day, we talked to him the other day, and the one thing I wanted to, get out of him is like, are you different now? Because we're all different at 38 than we are at 28.
Right.
And I'm like, that's the one thing. And I'll give you an example, and it's maybe a poor example, but I'm good friends with Travis Green. And Travis Green is a better coach today in Ottawa than he was in Vancouver. So, excuse me. So I'm sitting there going, okay, John Chaika, I don't know what type of resources he had in Arizona as far as,
Zero.
not much, right? Like, it sounds like the league was running it. There was an owner, there was lots of like chaos, and he was kind of the face of that chaos. And you're right. I think there was mistakes made, again, from the stories I hear, for the league basically suspending him and saying, you don't come back, like type of thing. And all of a sudden he shows up in the biggest market as the figurehead. And Matt Sundin, as I mentioned, is 17 years out of the game. And it's not like he's been running a Fortune 500 company. He's been, hanging out in Sweden. And again, the one thing I will say is Matt Sundin is a really smart guy. And, Nasher, Folts, we know lots of special smart people. And, can they adapt to any situation? And I'll give you an example. Marty St. Louis was coaching like 12-year-olds.
Yes.
In New York.
And the GM.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're running the Montreal Canadiens, and go coach that team. And I always want to afford people an opportunity, and you can go at them hard. And what I would say to John Chaika is disarm people with the truth. I made mistakes before, but I want to be different this time around with different resources. So what I've done is I've kind of resigned myself to go, okay, this guy made mistakes, but I'm going to judge him on his body of work now as opposed to what he did before. Because by all accounts, and you guys lived it, it was an absolute gong show. And do you get handed it's like, okay, you're a gong show, you should be out of the league. And it's like, okay, here's one of the wealthiest brands on the planet, and here you go. So the fan base is kind of like was going crazy there for a bit, and then they win the first overall pick. It's like, okay, we're back. And you're like, all right, well, the team is still this Nasher, Folts, the team needs so much. Like I don't see them being a playoff team next year unless they completely blow everything out and just sign a bunch of people and stuff. I think they would be better served to retool on the fly. They've got decisions to make, including their captain's got to figure out what he's going to do in 2 years, as I mentioned before. So there's lots to be done there, lots of work. But starting Monday to Wednesday, it was absolute chaos in Toronto. There was negativity and positivity all bunched in one. Everyone's just in shock. I'm glad that people made it to Friday, because it was such a gong show of a week.
Well, and how about and here's my issue. And I lived and breathed it, as you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
This guy I don't think he ever said even hello to me. So I was a non-factor. But anyone who gets rid of Shane Doan, not once, but now twice, right? Like that's a problem with me. That's one of my best friends, and you know me. I mean, we stick together like glue. If someone did that to you, I would never, even look in his direction. But.
And I get it. And you know what, Nasher? That's the thing. And I'm glad you brought it up instead of me, because again, like I heard the stories. I heard Biz talking about it. You've talked about it. So, I don't know what the reasoning would be for that. other than the fact that maybe you felt threatened as a young general manager. And, but the way I'd look at it now, and I don't know, but if I was John Chayka, I would call Shane Doan and take him for lunch and say, we all make mistakes. I always live by this mantra. I think you disarm people by the truth. And you go to them, say, I screwed up. What can I do to atone? And I think the fabric and character of Shane Doan. He's probably one of the nicest humans and one of the greatest humans on this earth. So I don't know what happened 10 years ago, but I would hope that you could, mend fences and have water under the bridge. But that's the type of stuff that I think you need to atone for, those types of things, because like you said, Nasher, those types of stories, they're like a stink on you. Like you gotta get rid of that.
It's like my tank top.
I can smell it through my computer.
So, Jamie, you mentioned you still don't think they're a playoff team. And by the way, this is a landmark moment in our podcast, because now we're a real hockey podcast because we're spending an episode on the Leafs. So it feels good to join the club. Like, all right, we turned it into a Leafs show. But you mentioned you still don't think they're a playoff team. So does Gavin McKenna or whoever they take number one, you don't think that alters that trajectory of what existed before the lottery that much?
Well, I think it does. Like anytime you get the first pick, and this McKenna looks like he's special. Again, I've only seen him play live once, but he looks like he's a hell of a player. I like the fact that he got into a bar fight at Penn State. It shows that he's gritty.
Like a pair of coconuts.
Like he backs up everybody. But the point being is, if you take a look and just remove emotion from it, take a look at that Atlantic. It's murderer's row. So even if the Leafs turn things around, because they were injured all season, they never had both their goaltenders pretty much all season. One guy was always hurt or had taken a leave and all of that. You had Chris Tanev they brought in. He missed most of the season. He was probably their number 2 defenseman, but their shutdown guy. They had injuries and inconsistencies all season long, and I think they need to revamp their D, because their D were kind of bigger and slower. So I don't say that, even if John Chayka makes a bunch of moves. My question is, with the Florida Panthers having 11 regulars out by the end of the season last year, and them having a long offseason getting healthy, they're going to retool and come right back at it. So I was thinking even before this, the Florida Panthers might be taking somebody's playoff spot next year. Is that Boston's? Is that Ottawa's? Is it Buffalo's? Is it Montreal's? Like, I don't see Buffalo and Montreal taking a step back with how young their teams are and how fast they are. Detroit just missed. Now, Detroit was in first place January 14th. They were first place in the Atlantic. And then 3 years in a row, it's dropped off a cliff. So they're going to identify some mistakes there too. So my point being is, you're going to look at that whole Atlantic division and say, even if you believe 5 teams can make it and 3 from the Metro, it's a long list for all 5. So that's why I look at it and say they can get a lot better in the offseason. Austin Matthews can be healthy, and he's a rock star of a player. William Nylander can get healthy. John Tavares can continue not taking a step back and scoring. Matthew Nyes can be healthy and be a force. But I look at it, they need so much to just get back to competing for that spot in the Atlantic. So that's the biggest challenge for them right now.
Oh, nauseating. More Leaf talk. My God, like make it stop. Noodles, I want to jump into, like, you're a goaltender, played a long time in the league, 17 years pro, but you also backed up some unbelievable goaltenders. Grant Fuhr when I got there, Roman Turek, Kiprusoff, Luongo. I don't know if it gets any bigger than that. Yeah. But you talked about Vejmelka, Noodles, like that he needs a few nights off. Like, you played with guys that, like Furzy, didn't that one year he played like 79 games in a row or something?
Yeah, the backup goaltender was Bert Godin, our trainer. No, it was a guy named Bruce Racine. That's what it was. It was Bruce Racine. But when you look at it, the game has changed so much. And I remember talking to Roberto Luongo right at the end of his career. And he played in a Toronto-Montreal back-to-back situation. And I said, how was it? And he goes, you can't do it anymore. Like the elite guys can play back-to-back. But the game is so fast and the game is so side to side that it wears on the body. So they're looking at it from an analytic standpoint that you can get 60 from your number one, but the other 22, we'll call it 25 if a guy gets pulled. A lot of those are back to back because you want 100% of a backup to give you the ability, because they look at the analytics on the second night of a back to back. Now Hellebuck can do it, Vasilevsky can do it, Ottinger, but gone are the days, guys. Vejmelka has shown that he can play 60 plus. Gone are the days of 60 plus. You're more looking at a starter playing 52 to 55 because the game has changed so much. It's up, down, over, side to side. It's not McLennan in there in a lawn chair trying to make a skate save. Like it is. It's fast and it's aggressive. And so the best goaltenders in our era, Nasher, there was 15 to 20 number one goalies that played 65 games. The Cujos, Marty Brodeur, Patrick Waugh, you name it, Dominic Hasek. It's not like that. There's 7 or 8 guys in the league, including Vejmelka, who are clear-cut number ones. Everybody else is a tandem. And
do they cover that? Like, do they say that? Because I can't imagine going into Patrick Waugh and going, dude, you had a shutout last night, or you had a tough night last night. You're not playing tomorrow. He'd be like, get out of my way. That net is mine. Like, no chance.
But you're right. But again, there's probably, if we did a short list, 7 or 8 goaltenders that are having that conversation with their coach. The rest of the league, 25 other teams are going, our other guys playing because we've got a tandem. You know, most teams, if you look at it, if you even look at NHL.com, on average, about 110 goalies play at least one game per year. There's only 32 teams, so that's at least 3 goalies per team or more. It's rare that only 2 play for an organization. You know, it's Hellebuck and Comrie, you know, that type of stuff. But outside of that, a lot of teams will have injuries and inconsistencies, and it's 3 or 4 guys that have played for you throughout the year. And if you've had, like, I've seen teams, Ottawa a couple years ago, I think had 8. You know,
but how do you flip that then? Like, all of a sudden, then you're like, okay, we're not tandem. It's now we're going to the playoffs. Like, Edmonton's a complete disaster. Like, how they've never had a goalie is absolutely beyond me. They've tried, they've failed. But like last year, for instance, Pickard and Skinner. I mean, like, are you kidding me? You don't know who's playing as your starter in Game 6 of the finals. Like, that's a problem, isn't it?
It is. And the problem that I see is what you need to do is, for example, Stuart Skinner was playing the 60 games. And they thrust him into the number one spot maybe a year too early. Keep in mind, they signed Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell was supposed to be the one. Skinner was supposed to be the guy the student. And what happened is Skinner came in and played like 60 games because Campbell didn't play very well. And so Skinner played, I think, 62 and then another 20 in the playoffs, like basically played 82 games in a calendar year because he played all the playoffs in the finals. And then they had Pickard in there. And then the following year, same situation. Skinner, by the starting of the games, he's been a number one, but I think he's more of a tandem guy. And that's what's happened, Nasher, is you look at it, and it's a scenario where you have to have somebody that you trust going into it. And I'll give you an example. Minnesota's in one, but Minnesota down the stretch played Wallstead. Even though Gustafsson was kind of their starter up until Christmas, and then Wallstead took over. Okay? So when I look at it is they went for Wallstead in the first round. He stumbled in that first 9-6 loss or whatever. Let's go to Gustafsson. Gustafsson was no good in game 2. Now you got to go back to Wallstead. And it's that argument, and you guys know football. If you have 2 number one quarterbacks, you don't have one. Because you're always going to be second guessing. You should have gone to this guy, should have gone to that guy. So I come back to it. Utah's lucky to have a guy that they go, this is our guy. This is our guy, and we need somebody to give him a night off here or there, but he's our guy. So that's what's important
Because you don't know, like, do you even know who Bobrovsky's backup was? No,
well,
like
Tarasov, but
no,
I knew who it was, but
yeah,
you
you because you're
in the finals when they won.
yeah, you guys are goalie lovers. Like
Yeah.
you didn't. That guy never saw the light of day, and there's a
No.
reason for it, right? But I have another a goalie question that I find
Sure.
fascinating. Sorry, Folts, I'm all over your toes here. But like you're a backup goaltender and you evolved because you started 38 games in the with the Minnesota Wild one
Yes.
year. That was lights out. Your career highs, obviously, had great years in St. Louis. But when you're a backup goalie, are you wishing like bad things upon your starter? Are you
sitting there with
let,
a
let
voodoo
one
doll?
in? Yeah, exactly. Like because we're competitive guys, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no way a part of you isn't like, come on, let one in, let a stinker in. I want the net.
Now, maybe early in your career, you're like competitive. You're like, oh, I need the net. I want the net. But I used to joke, okay, so you want Kiprusoff, who I think is one of the best goaltenders ever played. Kiprusoff on a back-to-back. Do you want 80% of Kiprusoff or 100% of McLennan? I'll take 80% of Kipper. You know, that's the thing. And that's why Kipper was 7 years of 70-plus games in a row. We had Roberto Luongo still bugs me when I played with him in Florida one time. So Louis took a shot on the hand, and he comes to the bench at the TV timeout, and he goes, I think I broke my finger. And I was sitting there like, I was like, kind of had some popcorn, and I was like, "You're fine, you're fine." I'm like, "I'm not going in. You keep going," like type of thing. Like
he's got popcorn on the bench.
Got popcorn on my face. Like so, I will say this. I think one of my strengths throughout my career is identifying what I was, and if I wasn't going to be a number two or number one, I better be a really good number two, and I think that's what helped me with longevity. Because when you look at it, if your number two pisses and moans and he's mad that he's not playing, what is it? It's disruptive. So I always felt, and you look at all my goaltender partners throughout my career. Ron Hextall was my first partner.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
Ron Hextall was my first goalie partner, and my first goalie coach was Billy Smith.
Holy.
I'll tell you a crazy story. This you remember in the minors, this Buddy the Puffin, this
Is
mascot.
that my bobblehead?
So I'll tell you a quick story. You mentioned, Mike, that I got sent to the East Coast League my first year to Richmond, Virginia. So I get called up from the East Coast League to the show. And it's because there was an injury, and our team was in like Halifax, and we were heading over. The minor league team was heading to the Rock, where the Toronto Maple Leafs play, their farm team. So they got me to the NHL. I backed up Steve Weeks. The next day, they send me to the minors to join the minor league team because they could get another guy up. And I get there, and Butch Goring's our coach, and Billy Smith is there, and I'm about to play like my first game, and I'm so nervous. And we were there. We played Tuesday, Thursday. So the first game, I go skating out, and this mascot is in my crease, like giving me like a hex. So I kind of like skate to him. I'm not even paying attention. I just scrape my crease. I ended up having an unbelievable game. And every period I would come out, the mascot would be standing in my crease, and I'd have to push him out of the way and scrape my crease. So honest to God, by the third period, he pushed me. So I pushed him back, and I was like, what is this guy doing? So all I'm focused on is trying to make saves. Like, what do I care? This mascot. So I stand on my head. We win 3-1. I stop like 36 shots. I get first star. I skate off. I go into the dressing room, and Billy Smith is sitting in my stall, and he's got like a scowl on his face. And I'm like, and he goes, I need to talk to you outside. And I was like, all right. And I'm like so pumped. I got first star. Here's my goalie coach, lays eyes on me. And he takes me out into the hallway, and he's like, don't you ever let that bird get in your face. And I was like, what? And he's like, he goes, if that bird is there Thursday, you run him over. And I was like, I just got first star. Like, I didn't even think about the bird. Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I'm telling you, if he's there on Thursday, you run him over. And I was like, all right, like that night I didn't sleep. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe the bird doesn't work Thursdays. Maybe it's not going to be there. All I can think about is this stupid bird.
What if he beats me up?
and exactly. So Wednesday's practice, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I'm not going to start. Maybe Butchie skates up to me. He's like, you're going tomorrow. I didn't sleep a wink that night. I'm thinking, I've got to deal with this bird. Honest to God, Thursday, I get out there, the first period, I allow 4 goals on like 7 shots. I'm the worst player in the building. They don't pull me. So I'm like, oh my God. I go out for the second period. You got the long skate. That bird is standing in my crease doing the hex. So I said, to hell with this. I skated 200 feet and I buried that bird into the corner. And I have no idea if that's a 14-year-old girl in there, if that's a senior citizen. It's a mascot. And the mascot's laying in the corner. And the crowd's yelling at me and booing. And we end up losing 7-1. We lose 7-1. I'm like so heartbroken. I gave up a touchdown. I go into the dressing room afterwards. Billy Smith is sitting in my stall with a big smile on his face. And he goes, that's how you be a man in this league. And I was like, I just got scored 7 goals. But like that was my first goalie coach. It was crazy.
Oh, dude. How have I not ever heard that story? Oh my God.
To this day. So apparently this Puffin passed away recently. His family like sent me this. And I keep it like it's on my bobblehead over here. It's amazing. I keep
Petey the Puffin. Oh my gosh.
Buddy the Puffin. People are like, and the craziest part is one of my best friends, Peter Hanlon, was the PR guy for the baby Maple Leafs. He's like, I remember that because Billy Smith came yelling at me saying, get that bird away from my goalie. I was like, what is going on? So I had some good partners, put it that way. I had some good partners along the way and some good goalie coaches.
Folts, you got any more for the big man?
Well, yeah, because we're going through the career. There's a lot of stuff in the middle we could get to, but I want to make sure we get to the Eastern Hemisphere of your career because you headed over to, what was it, Magnitogorsk?
Yes.
And in Japan, like that was after. So that was at the very end of your NHL career, right? Like you had played your last NHL game, then you go over to Russia. How long were you there? What was that experience like, and what stories can you tell without getting Russian mob?
People will know. You can YouTube it. Unfortunately, I ended my career on a suspension in the NHL. I gave Johan Franzen a little tap, and I got 5 games. And
you got some anger issues. I had no idea. You're the happiest guy I know. I'm finding out more about you.
I was trying to start a fight, and it didn't work out.
He showed you a picture of the Puffin.
Our buddy Iggy was wanted a line brawl. I'm like, I'll start it, and then it didn't work. So, anyways, I end my career on a suspension. I'm thinking that I've got a couple offers on the table, like 2 ways from NHL teams and stuff. And I'm thinking I'm going to retire. And my agent calls me and says, I've got a job for you in Magnitogorsk in the KHL. And it's really good money. And he said, but you got to leave in the next couple weeks. And I had put on my 15 or 20 in the summer as usual. And I'm like, all right, I got to meet the team in Germany and all of that. And I get there and it's like the Wild West. Like Russia is like, there is Moscow and St. Petersburg, and then there's Russia. And, Magnitogorsk is 800 miles southeast of Moscow. So you're in the Ural Mountains. And I get there, like I go and train with the team in Germany for 4 days. And then we land in Russia. And I'm not lying. We landed and I had brought like 5 hockey bags of all my gear because I'm going for the year. So I meet the team in Russia and then I'm coming back or I meet them in Germany and I'm coming back. And we land at Sheremetyevo Airport. And it's just like, it's 38 degrees, or it'd be 95 degrees, I guess, 100 degrees. And I was doing the Canadian conversion there. And I get through customs about 2 hours in. and my stuff is just sitting there, and I've got sticks and 5 hockey bags and stuff. And I walk outside with a cart, and there's just cars and buses everywhere, like parked sideways. And the guys are all drinking and smoking on the bus, and they're waiting for me. So we go to leave the bus, like the bus goes to leave the parking lot, and there's a Toyota Tercel blocking it. And I'm about 3 rows back from the bus driver, and there's a guy named Nikolai Kulemin sitting in front of me. He's like a 19-year-old player on the team. Now he ended up having a pretty good NHL career, and he's on the phone, and the bus driver and the guy from the Toyota Tercel are arguing. And all of a sudden, the guy from the Tercel gets out, and he's got a Glock. He's got a gun, and he's walking towards our bus driver. And I'm like, gun, gun, he's got a gun. And everybody on the bus is yelling at me to like be quiet. And they're playing cards. And I'm like, he's got a gun. And the guy has a gun in our bus driver's face. And the bus driver is looking around the gun and yelling at him. And I'm like, what is going? And Kulemin is shushing me. He's on the phone. He's like, shh. And I'm like yelling, gun, gun, gun. So then our captain, Goalie, comes over, and I said, what's going on? The guy has a gun. He goes, it's Russia. Everybody's got a gun. Don't worry about this. And I was like, I hadn't slept in 24 hours. We get to Russia. That was my first experience in getting to the KHL. And I mean, the league was amazing. I lasted 2 months. They didn't love me. I didn't love my situation. So I ended up leaving. And then I called Nasher. And I don't know what happened to you, Nasher. You
A green card.
Is that what it was? You had to stay?
Yeah, my green card. Yeah, I finally got an interview. Anyway, yeah, I was going to San Jose, and then I wasn't, and then you called. I'm like, let's go.
I said to Nasher, I said, why don't we go to Japan and finish our career? So one of my good friends was over there, had played there 16 years, and he said, why don't you come retire with me? So we flew over, and we were there for about 5 months, and we had the best time, the best food, the best culture, everything. It was amazing. The hockey was kind of East Coast League level.
Yeah, yeah.
But let me tell one quick story about Nasher, though.
Yeah.
He hit a guy so hard that the guy's helmet flew 20 feet in the air. They stopped the game, and a guy came out of the crowd who was like a supervisor, and he came on the ice in his shoes and was talking to the ref. They didn't know what penalty to call because it was a clean hit. It was probably the hardest hit they've ever seen in that league. That both teams like just stopped. Like both teams stopped playing everything. And then this supervisor came out of the stands and was talking to the refs. And then Nasher got like a major, I think, for body checking. I don't know what she got. It was the most outrageous thing I've ever seen.
It was our own building, remember? And I think our fans were actually booing me. And I think they called me the Japanese assassin for the next few weeks. Noodles, you got to tell the story about the girl, the old lady with the red light behind the net.
Oh, so we get to China, and the team in China wasn't very good. And we fly to Beijing. We're going to play over there for 3 games. So the team says, you don't even need to dress. We're going to, don't worry about it. You and your girlfriend at the time can go to the silk market and buy Louis Vuitton bags for $200, whatever it is, $2. Like it was so cheap. And I show up at the game, and we end up losing the first game. So they're like, you got to play tomorrow. Noodles, you got to play. So I get in the net, and it's a beautiful building, but it's like a junior building. It maybe seats like, I don't know, 5,000 people, not even. And there's probably 2,000 people there. And I remember I like to skate around, and I looked, and I was like, out of the corner of my eye, there's like smoke. I'm like, is the place on fire? And I turn around, and the goal judge has an ashtray sitting there, and it's hacking a dart during the game. I'm like, where am I?
You're like, give me that. Give me a puff of that.
Through the glass. You're like, blow it through the glass. So, yeah, I mean, all of these stories are amazing because you lived them, right? You went there. I like to have fun. This is the one thing that we forget. You play a game, and yes, at the NHL level, it's high stakes and the pressure's there, but like you still have to enjoy yourself. And that's the thing, Nasher, I'm sure you're the same way. Think about it when, what do we miss? We miss the camaraderie. We miss our teammates. We miss the dressing room. We miss the planes. Like you miss playing the game, the actual game, but you miss everything that comes with it. I don't miss the business part, but I certainly miss the team aspect, because I don't think it'll ever get replicated unless you're actually in a dressing room. So that's one thing as a former player I certainly miss.
I don't miss the cold showers. I can tell you that, but it's true. Like that is the same thing for me. Like I don't miss playing at all. I miss the paychecks a little bit, but I miss the team dinners, right? I miss story time on the plane, on the bus, the card games. Yeah. That is like, we had Pat Maroon on the other day, and literally, Folts, everything he talked about was like hydration and going to the, for a drink after. And that's how those teams, and he won 3 cups. That's how they were built, right? So,
but that's, like, and I know the world is different now, and I respect that. But you think, with camera phones and stuff, like, I don't know how cognizant these guys are. It's like, if we meet for beers after a game and say it's a loss, and somebody snaps a photo and said, these guys are out celebrating a loss, and all you're doing is just trying to decompress. You can go home and sleep and get ready for work the next day. Like, you forget that sometimes, we forget that social media, as great as has been, it hurts some of these guys as far as, the perception. Because again, you can go for dinner after a game and have a beer, but somebody snaps a photo and you have no idea the context of it. So I always worry, today's athlete, I get it. They're a lot different. They're way different wired than us. It's the stakes are a lot more. The money's a bigger, all of that type of stuff. But it still comes back to it. It's still a game, and you still should have fun, and you should have some camaraderie. And, it's just a matter of how you adapt to it.
All right, Nudes, we got to let you go here, I think. I so appreciate it. I got like 80 more questions for you that we didn't even get to. I love it, dude. And I just want to tell you, like, Folts, I was talking to you about this before you came on the show. Like, you, Paul Bissonnette in Canada, like, your first career was incredible, but your second career, buddy, what you're doing, how you've reinvented yourself. I know you were a goalie coach there for a while, but what you're doing in the media world, dude, like, I'm just telling you, your podcast, Overdrive, all the things, you are absolutely crushing it. I'm so proud of you, man. And you're an inspiration to us all, buddy.
Well, thanks, buddy. Like I say, it wasn't that hard. I set the bar low with the NHL career, so I needed to follow it up with something. But no, honestly, it's been as you know, we have Nasher and I. We've been dear friends forever. We have a boys group that is just lethal, and I think that boys group has helped shape us to be in the media, because you have to be quick on your toes, or else you won't survive hanging out with 12 different guys in Vegas or wherever we go, to LA, all of these places. But you know what? It's like anything. You have to enjoy what you do. And I think that's, any way you can stay in the game. Yeah. I think I've been so fortunate to talk about it, and that's the beauty. I love talking hockey. Like, I could talk hockey forever. I know I've taken up a rambling on here for an hour. Have me back and we'll get into another hour worth of stories once once you want. But I appreciate it. And like I say, it's amazing to, I keep in mind now, the muscle shirt, I don't know when that transition, like what happened, but
a poor man's Pat McAfee, right?
Yeah, but the thing is you got the body. If it was me, like skinny fat guy with like a lazy arms, and greasy arms or something, you can't have me on doing that.
Folks, you should have seen.
I got to wear like a suit right up to my neck so that people don't look at what's going on down here. That's
turtleneck. Right. Oh, I love it. Oh my God. Noodles, I love you, buddy. Thank you so much. Yeah, all right. Appreciate you as always.
Thanks for having me. We'll chat soon.
Well, there you have it. Jamie McLennan, a.k.a. Noodles, the pride of St. Albert, Alberta. Jamie McLennan, thank you, buddy. Your stories are epic. Belly laughs for days, literally the mascot story. Like, some of those stories I'd never heard before. I've been friends with this guy since I was probably 17, and I have not heard some of those stories that we just heard on the pod. So He's been holding out on us, but what a storyteller. What a human being. And I want to say this, Folts, like I am super proud of all my buddies, right? Because when you retire from the game of hockey, it is one of the hardest things that I've ever been through. And I think for a lot of guys it is, because it becomes your identity, right? It becomes who you are while you're playing. Everything everyone talks to you about is all about hockey, right? And nothing more. There's nothing more substance to it, right? And then you retire and all of a sudden it's all gone. And I love to see guys go on to have even better second careers or third careers in some instances, like Jamie has done. This guy has recreated the wheel. He's taken his wonderful personality and turned it into a TV personality. And this guy, I'm telling you, Folts, I've been out with him in Toronto. He cannot go anywhere without some kid, someone coming up to him. And he's literally the Bob McKenzie of TSN right now. He's taken over. He's all over the TV, all over the radio. So super proud of him.
Oh, and he's such a good storyteller too. Like there's so much we didn't even get into with him, like overcoming his illness. And did he win the Masterton Trophy?
He did. He did, and we didn't even get to it. What a shame.
Yeah, and for those who, well, you can tell it better than I can, Tyson. But he had what kind of illness was it where it almost killed him?
He had meningitis. So he had meningitis, and again, this is another story that I knew a little bit about, but I've never actually sat down and talked to him about exactly what happened, how he knew he had it, when he knew he was in trouble with it, right? And then obviously to win the award, to have the season that he did afterwards, he literally thought he was going to die. Yeah. Like he was in the ICU, like that's intensive care unit, by the way. So for a week, over a week. And somehow the great doctors and nurses that took care of him, he battled and fought his way through it. And like I said, had a great year afterwards. So what a story and what a storyteller.
Yeah, I was just reading up on it on his Wikipedia page, and I guess he was driving back from Salt Lake, and driving back to Alberta, and he kind of fell ill while he was seeing some family in Lethbridge, but. Crazy stuff. And that just goes to show how fun he is. Like we could talk to the guy for an hour and not even get to a story about how he almost died and won a league award. Like that got somehow buried beneath Petey the Puffin and sharing cigarettes with the gold light lady in Japan.
And that's what I miss, right? Like I've told you this 100 times. I don't miss playing the game of hockey. Like a lick, not a chance, because I got beat up every night. But I do miss, that's all I miss, the stories and busting balls and just chopping it up with the guys, because the stories that we've created, the things that have happened to us over our careers, and everyone's got just incredible stories. That's what makes this show so special, that we're allowed to take that time and dig a little deeper between just, Jamie McLennan, the hockey player, right? So, again, thank you everybody, and Noodles, thank you, big guy, and keep crushing it on TV. He is a big personality, and it just shows, right? Like you deal with the guys in the locker room, and I always tell them I'm so glad that we're seeing more of guys' personalities, whether it's social media, all the outlets, Twitter. I'm not a big Twitter guy or X guy, but. Instagram is where we kind of shine, but you're seeing guys come out of their shells a little bit because they're the best, most personable, approachable athletes on the planet.
And remember, you can catch a lot of that stuff as well on NASHCAST Official. That's kind of like our gateway drug to the podcast. Like we want to get people hooked on the reels and then reel them in to listen to the full interview with these guys. So NASHCAST Official Instagram, up to over 8,000 followers right now. So, and some of these videos are blowing up too, which is
oh yeah, I think we hit one video, Folts, over 900,000 views, which is incredible. And we're looking for sponsors out there. So if you're watching, we're looking for sponsors. We're not against it. Mic flags, anything on set. I think we're going to do another 10 to 12 shows again next year in studio. So sign up. Hey, we're killing it over here as far as the viewership goes. Need more followers, but the views are there, and that's the most important thing. Now, after the shows, we need you on subscribe. YouTube, baby. YouTube, NASHCAST Official on YouTube. We need you. We need some followers over there as well. So thank you guys for watching. And again, Folts, thank you, buddy, for all you do, the heavy lifting, keeping me on track, buddy, keeping this thing on the rails. So thanks, bud.
Oh, it's a tall task. It's a tall task. And so, yeah, you'll be in touch with my agent, trying to maybe bump up the pay for a year or two here. But no, great stuff. And thank you again to Noodles, Jamie McLennan, for joining us. He does great work with TSN, mostly covering the Ottawa Senators. So, Tyson, we will see everybody next week as the playoffs roll on. Enjoy the hockey, everybody. And for the Utah Mammoth, enjoy the summer. Soak in that golf, because these off seasons are going to be shorter and shorter next few years.